Everybody knows Will Smith, right? Actor, rapper, boxer. If you love him or hate his spouse, there's no denying his impact in Hollywood.
Oh my god, bro, is dick riding all you do? Like, you literally got that nigga dick in your mouth right now. I see it. And I get it!
Recently, he made a sequel to an amazing comedy called Bad Boys. Bad Boys was like one of those really great comedy action movies that people were begging studios for a sequel for. They got that in 2020 and it made almost $500,000 in the box office. So there was obviously another sequel ready to be made, and 4 years later we got Bad Boys Ride or Die. Now what makes this interesting is that Ride or Die currently made $104 million at the time of the script, barely breaking even. But that's not to say that it's bad, because it is still in theaters and it definitely will get more as time moves on. Even more impressive is that it did better than Mad Max Furiosa and The Fall Guy, and both of them were supposed to be way better than what it did. And now you're expecting me to connect the story about Will Smith somehow being relevant today have to do with Disney ruining cinema. During an interview about the film, Will Smith said that you used to be able to put some explosions in the trailer and a couple of good jokes and people were there. And television is so good. There are things that people just aren't going to leave their house for anymore. There's definitely a higher demand for a certain type of film for people to leave their homes. I don't think he's talking about actual TV shows here, although there has been some bangers recently. He's talking about streaming services and how it's harder to get people in seats because you can just wait for a bit and watch it at home. And I know that title said that Disney ruined cinema, but I don't really think that Disney completely ruined cinema, or that even cinema is dead.
Liar!
I'm gonna kick your fucking ass!
That would never happen as long as humans feast for movies. But the rise of Disney Plus and the expectations that came with it definitely ruins a movie's qualities and people's expectations on how movies are supposed to perform. And it all started with Disney Plus. It had a solid idea at first, but then the money clouded their eyes so hard that it fucking ruined everything.
Enough with the suspense already!
Cinema and theaters in general never really had any close competition for them, the closest being TV. It was universal that if you want to see a movie, you have to purchase tickets that would decimate your wallet, sit down in a room that's freezing or way too hot, and experience the best movie possible. But COVID hit and destroyed that beautiful feeling for a bit. While we were in lockdown being bored, Disney was noticing that no one was going to theaters, so in the meantime, why not try to make our streaming service make us money? The problem is that we have to convince people that this is worth watching, because rewatching movies gets boring and everyone else is successful on their own platforms with their own special movies. The slow rise of streaming services was starting to make Disney want some of that money, so they knew they had to try when making projects to promote this idea. Marvel was just done with making the biggest movie universe of all time and was racking in billions of dollars. Star Wars was also making billions, but wasn't getting good reactions from audiences because they were fucking awful. But Disney didn't spend $4 billion for nothing, so they went off to make TV shows for their respective franchises. Star Wars made The Mandalorian, and Marvel made WandaVision and Loki. All of them did very well with critics and audiences, but what Disney cared about is that it gave them the green light to ram this idea into the ground. Then 50 shitty shows later, Disney properties can't make money, and this eventually bleeds into people's minds not to watch movies because of Disney's money-making format. And my mom is dying of cancer. What the fuck happened between 2021 and now? Disney's favorite child's made grandchildren that went on to do really good. So good in fact that Disney saw this as a way to make quick money without spending $100 million. So to cash in on this idea, Disney put both studios in a TV sweatshop and were whipped by making them a TV show after TV show at the speed of light. The problem with rushing people is they get very sloppy, and that is exactly what happened. The shows, while still performing well, were getting progressively worse and worse. But since the money was the main reason behind this, there was no reason to stop. But this fatigue started to bleed into the movies. While it's true that the pandemic did mess up movies a little bit, Disney made way too many mistakes. Every main branch of Disney's, including itself, was falling apart with product after product. Now, how Pixar and Marvel fell from grace has been a talked about topic for a while now. But the hidden problem is that Disney are shelving movies that do bad onto Disney Plus. Sometimes it harms the movies that it does it to. Pixar was coming back off the biggest decade of the company, making billions of dollars every shitty sequel they made. During the pandemic, obviously Pixar couldn't release anything in theaters, so they put movies they made going forward straight to Disney Plus, which wasn't initially a bad thing. Problem is that they did this with 3 movies back to back to back: Soul, Luca, and Turning Red. 3 movies that were straight to Disney Plus and didn't have a chance to go to theaters. But it didn't matter because Soul and Luca did amazing streaming wise. So when Turning Red was coming out, they made the insane decision to release the film at the same time they put it on Disney+. So instead of encouraging people to watch the movie in theaters, Disney gave you the option to leave your house, pay a $25 ticket to watch a movie, or watch a movie at home to a service that you most likely paid for. This decision made Turning Red the biggest flop in Pixar history, and lost Disney a lot of money. Pixar employees were even getting frustrated that their movies are going direct to streaming. Luca doesn't even have a premium price next to it. We don't want to be a title just on Disney+. These movies are crafted for the big screen. We want you to watch these movies with no distractions, no looking at your phones. If you give us an option to spend more money to go outside and watch a movie, or just watch the same movie inside, most people would choose the latter. So boom, Pixar got that huge flop, but now they have a new project called Lightyear. This movie is very unnecessary. It's clear that it was only made for money by using cheap nostalgia. And that didn't even work because Lightyear became one of Pixar's biggest flops ever. Again. The only surprise that it was such a huge flop that it took 6 weeks to get on Disney+. This wasn't supposed to happen in Pixar's eyes, because previously Encanto went in theaters for only a month before it went to Disney+. But Encanto was actually good and Lightyear wasn't, so obviously word of mouth wasn't good for it. Elemental was starting to be a huge flop, but then it turned into the biggest comeback ever. The main problem with this though is that Pixar wasn't giving a reason to watch their movies in theaters. This problem slightly exists because of poor marketing, but that's the point. Marketing's entire purpose in cinema is to convince someone to go outside and watch a movie in theaters. But when you know that you can watch it a month later at home, that gives the audience less reason to go outside and watch your film, and in return burns money for Disney. For Pixar's case, you made audiences comfortable by watching Pixar movies on streaming services, so there's no need to watch any other original Pixar film in theaters because you can just wait until it drops on Disney+, which the wait is never long. This goes for every other major brand in Disney. Even though Marvel's quality kept declining, the box office numbers weren't doing bad. But the problem with that was that Disney was forcing Marvel to make stretched out trash shows at top speed. So if you weren't caught up on the many shows at Disney+, you were out of the loop. And as the years went by and word was that Marvel was fumbling down their own steps, audiences rather not spend their fortunes gambling on if a Marvel movie will be good. Instead, just wait for Disney Plus to have it. Marvel, the biggest franchise ever, became that irrelevant in such a short time span. I find it more funny than tragic. That's why No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did so well. Not only did their trilogies build trust in the audiences by making good movies previously, that trust was so strong that even after all the trash in their house, audiences still found them appealing enough to watch it in theaters. You could argue that No Way Home was only for nostalgia, and you could be right, but shh. Go to sleep, it'll be alright. That's how sequels and franchises are as big as they are. If you build the audience's trust with you and it's really great, then people will get into seats for your next movie. Multiverse of Madness had us in mind when they used the multiverse and ultra cool, amazing cameos from people who use eye drops and walking sticks. But the movie was cheeks, so their trust is broken. I'm so confident if the MCU keeps this decline, the third Doctor Strange movie will make half of its box office. And Star Wars. I don't even feel like getting into Star Wars. It's just that sad. Since they were getting poor reception on the Skywalker saga, The Mandalorian was their one chance to regain trust back into their audience. And this is no easy feat. The Star Wars fanbase are some of the most ruthless niggas out there, and they will not show mercy if they hate something Star Wars makes. So when The Mandalorian was actually really good and it did really well, they went into making shitty shows that no one cares about. Until season 2 of The Mandalorian, which was like the only thing that was keeping Star Wars alive at this point. But it tested the waters to use nostalgic points to get more money. That and season 2 was also like decent. It wasn't as good as season 1, but like it was fine. But it worked, so more shitty shows came along. The shows ruined Star Wars' reputation with the public so bad that when a really good show came out, it didn't even get the recognition it deserved because people didn't care anymore. No one cares anymore for any of these low-effort products that Disney is putting out. But what does this do with cinema as a whole? Even if Disney is the biggest company, the only thing keeping it from making them beg for your money is the MCU, and that's crashing right now. And ever since the Avengers, the MCU has changed cinema forever. Superhero movies were becoming the dominating movie type, to the point where they were becoming oversaturated with them. And movies are harder to market now because of that. Going back to Will Smith's comment, judging by movies that are flopping recently, it does appear that it's harder to get people in seats when they can just wait for a streaming service to drop their movie into. Ever since the rise of Disney Plus, many major companies have made their own streaming services for their own movies. Now it's like a game of whack-a-mole trying to find out what movie goes which. Movies usually take months in theaters depending if it does well or not. But with the movies that are coming out now, audiences are now more willing to stay home and watch a movie, and that's not a bad thing. Audiences will tell you if a movie is worth their time, and like I said, cinema isn't dead, and it especially won't be dead because of Disney+. Oppenheimer, Barbie, Dune 2, Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. They will tell you if they're interested in your product. And the audience, including myself, have a right to not spend their money on movies that will probably suck. Movies that aren't in Disney's cycle of death still caught radiation poisoning from it. Movies like Madam Web, The Book of Clarence, and Mad Max Furiosa are all huge flops at the box office right now. Some of the reasons contributing to poor marketing, broken trust, and the fact that the movie is just trash. But Furiosa had no reason to flop. It previously had a movie which was being named as one of the best action movies of all time. But currently it's flopping, which is a shame because I think it's a decent entry. But people just don't care anymore. It didn't help that it's going to be streaming with only a month and a half in theaters. All of the examples I showed you and more are starting to have short theater releases because of how popular it was by Disney to put movies into streaming services way too early. Why watch The Fall Guy in theaters when I could just wait less than a month for it to go on Prime Video? I can't stress this enough, but cinema isn't dead and never will be. As long as people with creative minds show that they won't give us trash every week, we will be in good hands. That's honestly what's been happening right now. Disney was like the ruler over the land, with their branches always winning awards and them creating trends in media. As long as I keep flopping, more creative people and less greedy companies will finally get the spotlight that was covered by 3 huge circles. Now, even though my trust is broken with Disney, and especially with Marvel, I'm going to see Deadpool and Wolverine when it comes out. You can see I'm being a hypocrite, but they did everything a little bit different. The marketing isn't really like outstanding, but like it's not non-existent. At best, the poster can make me smile. In the movie, it looks interesting. You can whine all you want, but you niggas buy every COD and 2K game every year for $60 and cry knowing that you keep buying the same shit, so shut the fuck up.
That was really bad.
Yeah, that's the video. Before you leave, even though everyone probably already left and I'm talking to no one, I want to say that I am very grateful for the growth recently. I am recording right now with no script, and my Kendrick video has 22,000 views, and it might go up by the time I'm editing it. And that video alone has brought me up to 500 subscribers, halfway hitting to 1,000. I'm very glad that you guys enjoy my content enough to give me a subscription. I'm technically almost eligible for monetization, which is really cool. I need a fuck ton of watch hours, but you know, I think we got it. Fantasy aside, thank you. Please give me ideas in the comments of what to do for another video. My work is done, and I'll see you next month.